came for me.
One of the comic book world's most popular set of stars has clawed its way to the status of big screen blockbuster.
I have seen the film. It's fantastic.
It's got strong female characters.
These women are just as strong as the men. They're sexy, they're smart, and, you know, they kick butt, too. That's different.
It's got plenty of skin.
How do you get a naked woman into a PG-13 movie? Well, make her blue.
But make no mistake, these comic book superheroes also have a message that teaches tolerance for others who are different.
What we have here is a very serious storyline and a very contemporary storyline.
Help us. Fight with us.
Fight with you? Or join the team? Be an X-Man? Who the hell do you think you are? You're a mutant.
Join us for the next half hour as we meet the cast of X-Men, starring Patrick Stewart. It's on this episode of Extreme Close-Up. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Extreme Close-Up. I'm Suzanne Senna, coming to you from Golden Apple Comics in Los Angeles. It's here where many collectors stroll the bins looking for their favorite comic heroes. You know, in recent years, those same comic characters have jumped from the page to the big screen. Let's see, Blade, Spawn, Superman, Batman, and Robin, they've all had their moments in the spotlight, and now it's time for the X-Men to have their turn. And leading this pack of mutant superheroes is none other than Patrick Stewart.
You're in my school for the gifted, for mutants. You'll be safe here from Magneto.
What's a Magneto?
A very powerful mutant who believes that a war is brewing between mutants and the rest of humanity.
Stewart was left with heading up a group of superheroes with a rich history. The original comic book was created in 1963 by Marvel Comics mastermind Stan Lee. Numerous spin-off titles now make it the most popular comic series of all time, with a complex cast of characters and intertwined storylines that would put any soap opera to shame. Although generations of fans followed the comic book storyline, Patrick Stewart wasn't one of them. When he was cast to play the head of the X-Men, it required some character research.
Called the studio and they sent over a case of comic books, and it was interesting research. Usually my research involves heavy, weighty volumes from serious libraries, and so it was fun to settle down for an afternoon with a pile of comic books.
Here's what he learned about the X-Men. The story is set in the near future, where children are born with a special X factor in their genes, giving them special powers and making them mutants. The seeds of a new Holocaust are being sown by Senator Robert Kelly, who pledges to expose the invisible mutant population. Bruce Davison plays Senator Kelly in the film.
I have here a list of names of identified mutants living right here in the United States.
Senator Kelly is campaigning for the Mutant Registration Act, which will, in fact, label, register all mutants. People, the human race is mutating. And there are people that are having superpowers coming into our existence. The human race is shifting, the zygote is splitting, and it's a very fearful time because men are no longer created equal, or women. Their fear is in the air, them against us. And it's a fear that's always been with us. It's always been them against us in one form of political war or another.
The situation puts fellow mutants and former friends on opposite sides. On one side, the X-Men, to prove citizens wrong, use their powers for good. The other mutant group, the Brotherhood, see their super abilities as a way to exercise evil revenge and seek world domination. Patrick Stewart portrays Professor Charles Xavier, the X-Men's leader.
He is the leader of the X-Men, and in this case it involves going up against Magneto, the leader of the Brotherhood, who they're also mutants just like the X-Men, but Magneto's philosophy is that the world will never accept them. Therefore, the mutants have to overpower the world. And this is the essential conflict between Xavier and Magneto.
Ian McKellen plays the evil Magneto.
I play Magneto, or should it be Magneto? He's the master of magnetism. He can attract metals, he can bend metals.
On the good side, the X-Men. The team includes not only Professor Xavier with his telepathic powers, but James Marsden as Cyclops, who shoots laser beams from his eyes. Halle Berry plays Storm. A native of Africa, this white-haired wonder wields control of the weather.
Hold on to something.
Famke Jensen is the team's scientist, Jean Grey, who has telekinetic powers second only to Xavier's.
Actually, I'm telekinetic. I can move things with my mind.
Really? What kinds of things?
Australian star Hugh Jackman makes his American film debut as Wolverine, traditionally the most popular of the X-Men characters. Wolverine is a one-man fighting machine with instant healing abilities and a skeleton made of hard metal. Added to his arsenal are razor-sharp claws.
He's the ultimate fighting machine, Wolverine, and he has these claws which are sort of embedded in his forearms that shoot out whenever he wants to use them, or, you know, toast marshmallows or whatever.
The character I play is called Rogue, and she is a young teenage girl who discovers that she has this power to absorb other people's sort of energy and life force and can put them into a coma when she discovers it when she's about 16. The first boy I ever kissed ended up in a coma for 3 weeks. I can still feel him inside my head.
On the side of evil, Sir Ian McKellen portrays Magneto, the former friend of Xavier's who has magnetic powers. He believes mutants should rule mankind with an iron fist.
Scream for me.
6'10" Tyler Mane plays Sabretooth. As the mortal enemy of Wolverine, he has brute strength. Supermodel Rebecca Romaine Stamos portrays the blue-skinned Mystique, a sexy shapeshifter who can assume the likenesses of other people.
She's chameleon, and she can turn into anybody, which is a cool superpower to have. I'd pick it.
Would you?
Sure.
Rounding up the bad side is Ray Park as Toad, a nearsighted mutant who scales walls and wields a 15-foot tongue. Now you've met the major players of the X-Men world. When we come back on Extreme Close-Up, we'll find out how Patrick Stewart was recruited to play Professor Xavier. And later on, we'll also visit the real-life mutant protest that accompanied the film's release. Stay tuned.
Mutants, they're taking over the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know about this?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up. I'm Suzanne Senna. Today, we're focusing on the comic book turned big screen blockbuster, X-Men. Before he was cast as Professor Xavier, Patrick Stewart wasn't a fan of this comic book or even aware that longtime fans always predicted that the one-time captain of the Starship Enterprise would be the perfect leader of the X-Men.
I may be able to help you find some answers. How do you know? You're not the only one with gifts. Where are you going? Where's he going? He's over there. I hadn't realized that there had been some kind of campaign for a long time about this role in B.
Patrick was my first choice, yeah. You know, he seems like an obvious choice, you know, physically, but it wasn't until I really met with him that I became determined to make sure that he played Xavier.
Once he delved into the role, he found that the X-Men universe was far from being a two-dimensional comic book world. Instead, it was complex and relevant for today's social issues.
I think it's one of the great strengths of the film that it's a contemporary movie with a serious theme. But it happens to have these amazing individuals in it with these extraordinary powers, which, when they're used, produce amazing film sequences. But what we have here is a very serious storyline.
The X-Men were originally created in the early 60s, when minority rights and racial equality were at the forefront of the world's attention. That made it interesting for Stewart to play the leader of a group of outsiders, a man who was powerful, yet confined to a wheelchair.
It reflects on what Martin Luther King said about it's the nature of your character that really counts. I was interested in a man who had so much power, so much control over the world, and influence over others, who is also a member of a minority in that he's handicapped. He spends his life in a wheelchair. So it was interesting to play a man who, in an obvious way, might be seen to be weak but yet, in fact, uses the powers that he has in an extraordinarily potent way.
Perhaps that's what audiences have come to expect from Patrick Stewart, who's best known for his portrayal of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, the leader of the Star Trek franchise for many years on television and numerous feature films.
It seems to have been my lot all of my career. Emperors, kings, princes, prime ministers, generals, captains, so much so that I even created a stage show around these leadership figures, which is ironic because as a child my teachers were always reporting that I was too easily led, and I think that's true. But my father was a very commanding person. He was Regimental Sergeant Major of the Parachute Regiment, which made him a superstar in terms of non-commissioned ranks in the military. And after my father, some years after my father died, a man who had served with him in the military said to me one day, when your father walked onto the parade ground, the birds in the trees stopped singing.
Perhaps it's this that he inherited from his father, how to be a commander.
Maybe genetically I picked something up from him in that respect, but I've always been interested in individuals of power, how they have acquired it, what they do with it, where are the weaknesses, where are the flaws, the subtleties of the use of power, the good that can be done as well as the bad. And there have been many, many of them, and I am fascinated by all of them.
We're not what you think.
When we come back on Extreme Close-Up, we'll hear how Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen made ideal on-screen enemies. You don't want to miss that.
There's a lot of history between the characters and a lot of history with the two actors, and that's, I think, inevitably going to produce something interesting.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up. I'm Suzanne Senna, still coming to you from Golden Apple Comics in Los Angeles. In the movie X-Men, Patrick Stewart is cast as the leader of the good guys, and cast as his worthy opponent is Sir Ian McKellen as Magneto, the king of the bad guys. Turns out it was excellent casting to face off these two British Shakespearean actors who also have been longtime friends.
You'll be safe here from Magneto, a very powerful mutant.
We are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter.
We've known one another for over 30 years. We've only worked together once. We were both of us members of the Royal Shakespeare Company at the same time, but never in the same play, except on the occasion of the world premiere of a play by Tom Stoppard. And then we didn't, in fact, work together very much.
I really enjoyed the scenes where you and Patrick were together. Now, you'd worked together before.
We did a play together a long time ago in London for the Royal Shakespeare Company, but although our careers have, until he started doing Star Trek, were very similar, both in mainly theatre, a lot of classical theatre, old plays. We come from the same part of the country up north in England. We don't, so we're sort of the same type. And I think that's what Brian wanted. He wanted this argument that I was talking about between Xavier and Magneto to be expressed by two people who could be cousins or brothers.
Although he went to university and I didn't. I dropped out of school. And he's a very funny man, and our scenes, which look very serious on the thing, were always accompanied with a lot of laughter.
When we got together, we had a lot of laughs because there was a lot of reminiscing and talking about people who the rest of the crew didn't know anything about. Both, you know, rather hugging ourselves with delight that here we were in this big studio movie, and of course he's used to all this sci-fi stuff.
We simply, I guess, teased one another a great deal, and as two British Shakespearean actors working in this kind of movie, we were also the subject of a lot of teasing as well.
While Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart were being teased, Rebecca Romaine Stamos was practically tortured. As the villainous Mystique, the model-turned-actress spent countless hours in the makeup chair.
My call time was generally between 1 and 3 in the morning, and it would take 8 hours to put the costume on. There were 4 women who did my makeup every day, and they were great. We actually had a lot of laughs, and then I'd work for 10 to 12 hours.
You know, people like you are the reason I was afraid to go to school as a child.
There was one time, actually, when it took about 8 hours for them to get to me. I was in my costume in my trailer for 8 hours before they ever got to me, and I started getting very claustrophobic underneath all the prosthetics. It was 120 silicone prosthetics followed up by blue paint. So my skin couldn't breathe under all the silicone.
Finally, after waiting 8 hours one day under the claustrophobic costume, she'd had enough.
I was sitting in this costume all day long, and I ran to find Bryan Singer, and I said, when are you going to get to me? I'm going nuts. I'm getting claustrophobic. I'm going to rip my costume off any second. He, you know, my skin was itching and everything, and he went and got me a bottle of red wine and poured me a big old glass and said, here, start drinking.
I had no idea it would be such a difficult job, makeup-wise.
The makeup paid off, though, with the hard-bodied supermodel wearing next to nothing.
But she's kind of naked, so, you know, you may not fully recognize her, but, you know, how do you get a naked woman into a PG-13 movie? Well, make her blue.
Can't I just put on a dress?
Not only does X-Men have sex appeal, but the film is one of the only comic properties where the superheroes aren't just supermen, but also women. That's part of what attracted Halle Berry to take the part of Storm.
One, to be a superhero, I mean, that's a fantasy, but to be one that's very powerful and just as strong as the men, as a woman, that made me feel like I'm not going to be compromised here. I'm not going to just be the little cute object of desire. All the women are very dignified ladies. That was important. And also, this character is very much the Earth Mother of the group. She's very grounded and centered, and she's like Mother Nature. And if you think of Mother Nature, you think of, you know, this supreme being that's very all-loving and all-nurturing. And I really liked that about her.
You know, Magneto's right. There's a war coming. You sure you're on the right side?
At least I've chosen a side.
In our final moments on Extreme Close-Up, we'll find out how the film was protested, but ended up with one of the biggest box office debuts ever. Stay tuned.
Kelly, 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 Kelly.
Atop a high tower, the Golden Avenger wills herself back to human form. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Extreme Close-Up. I'm Suzanne Senna. You know, it's likely that the people strolling the aisles here at Golden Apple Comics could be fans of the X-Men, but not everybody welcomes the mutants with open arms.
Kelly, 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 Kelly.
These angry protesters want to save their children from mutants, and they're calling on Senator Kelly to protect them.
Senator Kelly is going to expose all these mutants, and we can finally get rid of them and have a free America.
Yeah!
Fortunately, the good senator is on their side and is doing his part with political TV ads that show his commitment to expose the Earth's mutant population.
Senator Kelly knows this better than anyone. He stands ready to fight for human preservation.
Well, I don't condone violence, but I do condone people feeling safe in their own homes.
If you hadn't guessed by now, both the mutant protest and the TV ads were publicity gimmicks used to promote the movie. And a successful promotion it was. X-Men brought in nearly $60 million on its opening weekend in the United States, making it the 4th biggest 3-day opening in movie history. For comic creator Stan Lee, the success was a long time coming.
I wrote the thing in 1963. And everybody says, isn't it great? You got it now? And I said, what took so long?
At the film's splashy premiere, which was held on Ellis Island in New York Harbor, Lee explained why he thinks the X-Men is a success that has spanned decades.
The difference between the X-Men and all the others is the X-Men, in doing them, I was trying to create some sort of a metaphor for racial prejudice and bigotry. I mean, here are people who are hated and hounded and harassed simply because they're different. And they're people who want to live a normal life. They want to help us, and yet we don't let them. And the amazing thing is, even the youngest readers detected that message in the books. And I think that's one of the reasons that the books have been bestsellers for all these years.
It had to be of substance because these fans, you know, are very loyal fans to this comic book, and I can see why it has been a great way to escape for them, because it can sort of help them work through problems in their own life, because we all have felt like we're misfits or we didn't fit in, or we were ostracized, and so I see why people have connected to it.
Don't be afraid if you don't know anything about X-Men. I was clueless. I was clueless after I did the movie, and I saw the movie, and it's just a great film. It's a great movie.
Do you actually go outside in these things?
What would you prefer?
yellow spandex.
It's awesome because it's so different. It's really a smart movie, and it's got, I mean, it's set against a much more realistic background. So that's what sets it apart from, you know, the previous genre movies of this kind.
There's not many people that'll understand what you're going through. But I think this guy, Xavier's one of them. He seems to genuinely want to help you, and that's a rare thing. For people like us.
It is vastly entertaining, terrifically colorful, very exciting, an extraordinary range of characters, and it is a very, very serious movie.
And with the X-Men's new status as not just a comic book success, but a box office hit as well, it's likely that this isn't the last you'll see of this group of superheroes. In fact, it may have only just begun.
So read my mind.
I'd rather not.
Come on. You afraid you might like it?
I doubt it.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. We do want to thank everyone here at Golden Apple Comics and all of you comic book fans who've waited to see your heroes on the big screen. And also, thank you for watching. I'm Suzanne Senna. We'll see you next time on Extreme Close-Up.
Magneto is here, Liberty Island. Now, presumably, his objective is to mutate the world leaders at the UN summit on Ellis Island.
He doesn't know his machine kills. And judging from what the professor saw, if Magneto gave Rogue enough power,
He could wipe out everyone in New York City.